Good evening, and welcome to the 2025 State of the Penny Address. I want to thank you so much for showing up today despite the rain, and I also like to welcome our internet audience who are joining us by way of the county's YouTube channel. My name is Dr. John Thompson, Assistant County Administrator, and I will serve as your moderator on this evening. Before we proceed, I want to make sure that everyone had a chance to receive a Q&A or a comment card as you entered the council chambers on this evening. And so the purpose of this card is for you to jot down a question or a comment regarding the Penny Transportation Program. We will collect these cards at the end, and staff members will respond to your questions accordingly. For those individuals who are joining us virtually, you also have an opportunity to share your comments as well as your questions by way of stateofthepenny@richlandcountysc.gov. So email your questions as well as your comments to stateofthepenny@richlandcountysc.gov. As residents of Richland County, I am sure that most of us, if not all of us, have seen the many ways the Transportation Penny Program is transforming our county. In 2012, residents voted to approve a 1% sales tax, which would fund much needed transportation improvements across the county. Last November, voters approved the continuation of this funding to pay for infrastructure improvements for the next 25 years. Your vote of confidence signaled a shared vision, a vision that will create safer, more accessible transportation, greater opportunities for economic growth, better ways to connect our communities, and greater possibilities for enhancing the quality of life for all residents of Richland County, as well as those who visit our great county. With that, I'd like to introduce our distinguished panel of presenters, beginning with the Honorable Paul Livingston, Council Member District 4, also Transportation Ad Hoc Committee Chair. John Black, Transportation Penny Advisory Chair. Michael Maloney, Director of Penny Transportation. Maurice Pearl, Executive Director and CEO of the Comet. John Boyston, Chief Engineer for Project Delivery at the South Carolina Department of Transportation. And the Honorable Jessica Mackey, Chairperson for County Council of Richland County Council. I would like to also recognize our honorable council members sitting on the front row of Richland County. If you can wave your hand. I would like to also recognize other elected officials who are in the House. If you can also raise your hand. Thank you and welcome. With that being said, I would like to turn the program over to Councilman Livingston.
Good evening. Good evening. And thank you, Dr. Thompson, and thank you to all the Richland County residents for your support of our Transportation Penny Program. You know, it takes a lot of people, a lot of hours, equipment to build new roads, sidewalks, new bus shelters. However, you, the citizens of Richland County, are the true builders of prosperous opportunities in our community in Richland County. Tonight, we will hear updates on projects, budgets, and some new approaches to managing the Transportation Penny Program. But I'd like to spend my time this evening reviewing the many, many steps involved in this wonderful, arduous process. For example, including research, budgeting, committee approvals, and public input. They're going to taking a penny project from conception to completion. I really wanted to present this to you so you won't think that there are just three folks sitting in a room making these decisions somewhere. All these decisions about transportation in our county is a very intense and involved process. The process includes community input from town councils, town hall meetings, from community requests and other means of gathering information from residents in each of our 11 county council districts. As projects move forward, we engage in these assessments that are conducted. Project development and budgeting is done by our project managers and engineers on our transportation program team. Recommendations are made from our Citizen Advisory Committee. Guidance and reviews are provided by council members, recommendations from our Transportation Ad Hoc Committee. So County Council finally will give the budget approval. So you can see it's an arduous process, and we take a process that we take very seriously because this is important to Richland County. After that, there is project design, building, contracting, scheduling, construction, and finally completion. It is through decision-making process, to say the least. But we think it is important for all citizens and residents of Richland County to express our appreciation and understand your support for transportation in our wonderful county and how lightly we will not take your commitment. It is our charge to make the process of the penny very collaborative, very transparent, and very successful. And we hope that's what we're doing. So again, thank you so very much for your attendance this evening. Next, let me amplify the voice of our Citizen Drive input. And let me introduce our Transportation Penny Advisory Council Chair, Mr. John Black.
Thank you, Councilman Limbers. Good evening. My name is John Black, and I am honored to serve as chairperson of the Transportation Penny Advisory Committee, or TPAC. In April of 2013, Richland County Council took an important step towards ensuring accountability and transparency in the use of transportation sales tax funds by establishing the Transportation Penny Advisory Committee, TPAC. TPAC is a volunteer committee comprised of 15 members appointed by both Richland County Council and the various municipalities within the council. We serve without compensation, contributing our time and expertise on behalf of the communities and municipalities that we represent. The current members of TPAC include Mr. Donald Van Vranken, representing the town of Arcadia Lakes, Mr. Richard McKenrick, representing the town of Blythewood, myself, Mr. Creston Brown, and Mr. Peyton Bryant, representing the city of Columbia, Mr. Leroy Faber, representing the town of Eastover, Mr. Haskell Kibler, representing the city of Forest Acres, Mr. Clint Scoville, representing the city of Irmo, and representing Richland County directly is Vice Chair Ms. Eva Prelu, Ms. Candace Patman, Secretary Ms. Chris Kiefer, Ms. Shirley Robinson, Mr. Kamal Schlan, Mr. Algeron Williams Sr., who is here tonight, and Mr. Ashton Williams. The essential function of TPAC is to review, comment on, and provide recommendations to the Transportation Ad Hoc Committee and to County Council. But more than that, TPAC is a conduit for public oversight, representing the voices of the county's residents, those who both use and fund our transportation systems. Residents expect that transportation improvements funded by the penny, a 1% sales tax, and any related bonds will be effective, efficient, and equitable. TPAC embraces this responsibility fully, acting as a watchdog, sounding board, and a strategic partner. We do this by reviewing transportation information and plans, raising questions, seeking clarity, and offering constructive feedback. We operate as a bridge between county leadership and the public interest, working alongside the Transportation Director, County Council, the Columbia Transit Authority, the comment, to ensure a thoughtful use of public funds. Because of TPAC's demonstrated effectiveness in overseeing the current penny program, County Council voted in March of 2024 to expand our duties and powers. This action reflects a strong vote of confidence in TPAC's work and a belief in the value of resident-led input as we look to the future. The expanded duties give TPAC an enhanced role in reviewing countywide transportation needs, developing principles and best practices to guide project planning and implementation, advising on project scoring, prioritization, and equity, receiving and incorporating municipal input into broader transportation planning, and making formal recommendations on project list modifications and RFP scopes. Additionally, TPAC is now tasked with helping identify and respond to emerging transportation needs, and in collaboration with County Council and the Transportation Ad Hoc Committee, presenting an annual State of the Penny like we're doing tonight. In July of 2024, Council ordinance formalized the following TPAC added duties. TPAC will recommend modifications to the penny-funded project list when they go beyond the original defined scope, recommend reordering of project priorities when appropriate, review and provide feedback on RFP scopes for program management teams, offer recommendations to the comment and other governing bodies regarding the penny program, serve as a key channel for municipalities to submit input on transportation needs and planning principles, review transportation needs, project groupings, and scoring methodologies, deliver all input to the Transportation Ad Hoc Committee for formal deliberation. These are just a few of the expanded duties charged to TPAC. Before I conclude my presentation, I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank the Richland County Office of Small Business Opportunity, OSBO, for their continued support in providing TPAC with monthly updates. In their monthly reports, they provide us with information regarding the Penny Project's goals that have been set on certified small business participation, as well as hosting local workshops and events to promote equitable contracting opportunities for those firms in the SLBE program. OSBO Assistant Director LaSasha Breland, who is in the audience tonight, this side, and Director Pam Green have both provided us consistent and informative updates, and for that we are grateful and look forward to your continued commitment to the Penny program and to TPAC. Another notable recognition is our long-standing administrative coordinator, Miss Whitney Struther, who is leaving us due to a promotion, but we are looking forward to working with her replacement, Yakia Washington. In conclusion, these expanded responsibilities underscore Council's confidence in the work of TPAC, and more importantly, they reinforce the principle that good governance requires public involvement. Our goal remains clear: to help ensure that the Penny program continues to serve the county in a way that is strategic, community-informed, and results-driven. We at TPAC are proud of this work, and we remain committed to ensuring that transportation improvements are not only delivered, but delivered well with transparency, integrity, and equity. With that, I will now turn things over to Richland County Public Works Director, Mr. Mike Maloney, who will share about the present status of the Penny program and an exciting vision for the future of transportation in Richland County. Thank you.
I'll echo some of the words that came from Dr. Thompson. 2012, the Richland County did vote in favor of a 1% transportation sales and use tax known as the penny. This time in 2024, a greater number and a greater percentage voted in favor of the continuation of the penny. They were not just voting for a transportation improvement, they're voting for a continuation of the results they've seen and experienced: improvement in our roads, creation of safer passages and accessibility for pedestrians, trail users, bike riders, and the expansion of our public transportation system, an infrastructure that is the backbone of our economic growth and employment opportunities. That vote of confidence acknowledged achievements completed and those to come. Let's take a quick look at where we are and where we're heading. First, I want to introduce the team that's made it happen for us on staff at Richland County. Our program managers, if you could stand, we have Alexander Burton, Dr. Ali Eliadorani, Michael Green, Jeff McNesby, Rashid Mwakal, and Ted Thomas. Our engineering inspectors in the center arena: Lane Bryant, Tashana McDonald, Melvin Miller, Tanner Threat, and Olivia Wilson. Thank you. And then our administration, Wendy Garner, who without I couldn't have done this presentation because she got us all the numbers that we're going to talk about. Nathaniel Miller, who keeps track of all the things that we accomplished and why. Whitney Strother and Yakia Washington, who just joined us in the last month. Thank you, Yakia. Just going over the 2012 referendum, the 1% sales and use tax for the transportation system began in May of 2013, so we just passed 12 years of collection time. Maximum collection period was 22 years or $1.07 billion. It's reached whichever comes first. County's finance department predicts that to be achieved in approximately January of 27 based on the current rate of collection. So that will be a collection period estimated at about 13 and a half years. We're 12 years into collection. 54% of the time has been expended. The penny revenue currently has received is $884 million. 83% has been achieved. Additional grant funding of $35 million has extended the program. The project expenses are currently totaling at $661 million, 61% achieved. So if I was an engineer giving you a report on where we're at, I'd say we're ahead because 54% of the time is expired, 61% of the work has been achieved. The scheduled projects will continue until the fund is fully utilized. So this is a revenue update. So I mentioned that on the last slide that our transportation tax has taken in $884 million. There's also interest. We get paid quarterly from the state, and $3.5 million of interest has been earned in that time. It earns interest by the county until we spend it, and $46 million has been earned in that. There's miscellaneous revenue of $2.1 million, general fund payment back $16.5 million, a finance cost for the bonds $5.7 million, and then grant funds received to date $30 million. So the total revenue is $977 million received to date. This is the expenditure update. It doesn't show all the years because it's getting kind of long, but from 2014 to 2019, and then 2025 is just a partial year. So as we were going along, at the total expenses per year, we were in the 40 millions. There's a bump up to 66 million because we used program reserve that year. So that would have been in the 50 million. So there was a steady growth going to 63 million for FY24. We're also seeing a growth in the bike ped area from 1 million to 6 million, and this year is still going because we have some larger sidewalk projects underway. The comment's always pretty steady because that's based on a percentage. What we learned from the last slide was the middle column on this expended to date, 661 million. The original fund, we know that because that was the referendum of 1.07 billion. And then the second column next to that, 1.18, is taking into account the other revenues you saw on that revenue sheet. The remaining fund is what hasn't been expended to date. And that matches at the very bottom, 523. And I could have done this different ways, but we are forecasting inflation into the remaining large projects that we have that are widening projects at $409 million, utilizing all the reserve at the very end, and the total bikeways at 36 million remaining, and common expenditures at 46 million remaining. So that's where we would get to a balance with 32 million remaining in our program reserve. So that's the float based on the inflation that's been predicted to date is $32 million. Now, looking ahead, looking at what the current penny and what we've done, 130 miles of roadway resurface, 550 projects, 96 dirt roads paved. I think at our last presentation, we were at about 85 dirt roads and 11 intersections. So a few new things have happened. A lot of dirt roads were added and more coming. We've got a new way of resolving that. With county council's actions, we've got more ability to get dirt roads done faster, and we're down to one intersection remaining. And then there's the always, so what? So what did doing those projects accomplish? And what it really accomplishes is what it does for the community. It didn't accomplish 20,000 new jobs, but it participated in providing the transportation needs to support 20,000 new jobs, nearly 4,000 new businesses that have occurred since the first referendum, over $4.7 billion in new building investments, and $1.1 billion of direct investment related to a penny project that created the extension of Shop Road. There's a 60% decrease in unemployment for all of Richland County, and 2.5 million new annual visitors to Richland County each year. So looking ahead at what we have, I'll just go over the quick metrics on what we've heard with the penny extending and continuing on. It starts when this penny collection concludes. So in the earlier slide, we said that's estimated at January 2027. The maximum collection is 25 years or when 4.5 billion is achieved, whichever comes first. The second referendum question was bonding up to $950 million. And that was also approved in the referendum. So preserving how the penny works, preserving the penny, this is like the guide to how it's going to work. How are we going to launch projects? What is all that in the principles document saying? That was a hint. The three parts of this and going through TPAC, ad hoc, and council, there were priorities set by how much money would be invested in the communities, how much would be advancing the county, and how much would go to the comment. And so those are the three slices of the big pie. Important to that also is we have to launch the 2012 remaining projects first. That's in our ordinance. We also will provide $20 million minimum to each council district, and we'll use 6 principles to recommend new projects. Those principles are, does the project have additional funding sources outside the penny? What is the overall impact and cost ratio by the project to the community? What safety does the project offer? What improvement of overall condition, taking things out of blighted conditions, will the project achieve? How will the project improve economic development? And what is the public and stakeholder support of the project? There's details to giving points to those so that if anybody came in, they'd know how to score that. Right now, we have 2 projects going out that will help us get in a preliminary score of all the needs assessment of 2024. So this adds detail to that pie I showed earlier in a slide that showed the 3 areas. Now, based on what was approved from Transportation Penny Advisory Committee all the way to Council, there were dollar amounts given in that principles document and in an attachment to the ordinance. And those dollar amounts equate out to these percentages. These are the weights that County Council has approved that came from the Citizen Oversight Committee that will give weight to how the funds are spent in different areas. And I'll just name a few. Obviously, we had the comment at 22%. The next big thing is road widenings and county advancement, and then road resurfacing and rebuilding and community investment. Pedestrian safety, that 11% represents $410 million. The current greenway, sidewalk, and bikeway budget in the current penny is $92 million. So a lot of funds are going to improve the safety for pedestrians. That's not just sidewalks, but other methods that may come up that may be needed for safe routes to schools and other elements to the roadways that may be needed. And so you see all those are available for you to see on this slide anytime you want. I won't go through all of them. We have to track these though, and keep that pro rata going on those projects, as well as tracking which council district the projects are in so we can keep track of that. The annual project development plan will be something that will develop and will need approval, and that will be funded at each county budget cycle. When I mention a project development plan, that is something that will be ongoing through the year and wrap up in August. So collect and solicit information throughout the year using the new project development division of the Transportation Penny Department. Compare project scoring and new and emerging needs. Project development plan, again, in August, and the TPAC meeting, we would recommend that they have an output to Transportation Ad Hoc Committee in, say, October. And this is all budget driven, so that by the time we get to county council budget, these items will be ready to implement. And I mentioned the team that would be required to do this. So we have the Assistant Director of Project Development, Advanced Project Managers, Bike Ped Program Manager, Program Coordinator, and right-of-way agents and a manager. So that is the team that we currently don't have that would be added. Currently, everyone we do have is related to project delivery. The Penny supports our public transit system, the Central Midlands Regional Transit Authority, the COMET. It's a vital means of transportation for more than 2 million riders who depend on the system to get to their jobs, to get groceries, to get to appointments and other needs. For more details on funding from the Transportation Penny and how it helps the COMET and keeps the Midlands moving, let's hear from Maurice Pearl, Executive Director and CEO.
Thank you, Director Maloney. And good evening, and thank you elected officials. See some board members out here as well for the COMET, and the public for attending tonight. This presentation will provide a comprehensive update on the COMET's current operations, key accomplishments, and strategic initiatives that enhance our service delivery, transit amenities, and our commitment to the communities that we serve. We extend our sincere thanks to Richland County for your continued partnership and support. The COMET remains steadfast in its role as a trusted community partner. We deeply value the collaboration with county leadership, and additionally, we appreciate the dedication, experience, and service-minded focus of the COMET's Board of Directors has in advancing mobility for all Richland County residents. As you can see here, there are many benefits that we have brought to Richland County. Our miles that we've traveled have increased nearly 40%, up to 2.3 million miles. And this is since from 2012 to 2023. We've added 29 new routes, and this brings our total up to 47. And this is added to connect more people to their destinations. The COMET has also, in addition, added 29 new buses to its fleet, bringing the total from 68 in 2012 to 97 in 2023. Ridership has increased 35% from 2012 at 1.4 million to 1.9 million in 2023. There were a very limited amenities for our passengers in 2012. As you can see, we only had 15 benches and no shelters. And through the years, and fortunately for the Penny, it has brought 160 bus shelters and 196 benches and passenger amenities. We have also recently upgraded our automatic passenger counter system, or APC system, across all of our fixed route buses. This enhancement will allow for more precise data collection, enabling us to better understand ridership trends and make data-informed decisions to optimize our service. This will allow us to, we were allowed to do this with support of the penny. In addition to that, it also allows us to procure new revenue vehicles to replace aging vehicles. We utilize that as a local match for our federal grants. Moving forward, over the next 25 years, we look to the future. We would like to enrich and broaden our services, modernize our infrastructure, extend service routes, enhance service frequency, increase efficiency and responsiveness. We do that by expanding and enhancing our geographical coverage throughout Richland County. In the future, we will begin to roll out microtransit service to Lower Richland, marking the first step toward full county connectivity. Microtransit is essentially an Uber or Lyft style service that is operated by the Comet. This expansion will ultimately link communities from Lower Richland to Blythewood and to future employment hubs like Scout Motors. We're just not providing transportation, we're connecting communities. The other component allows us to increase frequency on our highest ridership routes. Our highest performing routes are our 01 series routes. They serve vital corridors across the county. 101, so the 01 series is a 101, 301, 401, 501, 701, and 801 routes. The 101 North Main has key stops along Prescott Road in Coon and Cody. 301 Farrow Road has key stops Greenview Neighborhood and also Coon and Cody. 401 Divine Street has key stop at Croson Superstop. 501 Two Notch Road has multiple key stops along Two Notch as well as Columbia Place Mall. 701 Forest Drive has a key stop along multiple stops along Forest Drive, as well as Sam's Club Superstop and Taylor Street. 801 Broad River Road has a key stop at Harbison Walmart Superstop, and that is our highest ridership route. These routes are essential for access to employment, retail, and healthcare destinations. So as we look forward not only to service, we look at targeted, customized, fixed route programs, and that's related to our past programs. So what we're looking at is moving towards implementing a targeted pass program aimed at 3 key groups: seniors and as those aged 55 and older, students transitioning into the workforce, working adults commuting to employment and education centers. This initiative supports affordability and accessibility for some of our most transit-reliant populations. It effectively supports a workforce development program, and we're proud to be looking into that as well. The last is a reconfiguration of routes, and the Comet board and staff have been very active in this, and we have actively started looking and moving forward on this. So to improve our route frequency for our riders, for example, on the 01 routes, potentially having aligned service. So the 01 routes come to our Comet Central at the top of the hour, bottom of the hour, and then our hourly routes will alternate between quarter after and quarter till the hour. The benefits of this approach include shorter wait times, more consistent and predictable service, improved on-time performance, enhanced bi-directional service on some routes, stronger connections to anchor destinations like grocery stores and shopping centers. Would like to, again, thank you for attending tonight, and I would like to turn it over to Mr. John Boylston, the Chief Engineer for Project Delivery at the South Carolina Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Maurice, and thanks for the chance to be here tonight to participate in this event. As Maurice mentioned, I'm the Chief Engineer for Project Delivery, which means I have statewide responsibility for delivering projects, the design and development of projects, including here in Richland County. And tonight I wanted to talk a little bit about our plan, our 10-year plan, where the DOT's headed, but also how we work together with the Penny and leverage the relationship that we have with the county in advancing transportation projects. Excuse me. A few statistics here. The state of South Carolina maintains over 41,000 miles of roads across the state. This is the fourth largest state-maintained system in the country. Now, if you look at population, we're somewhere in the middle. So you can imagine the challenge that's presented to a state with a smaller population, but with one of the largest road networks in the country. Along with those miles of roadway are 8,400 bridges. That's from the Ravenel down in Charleston all the way down to the smallest little wooden bridge you can think of. Doing all this work is 4,500 employees. That's across the state. The bulk of our employees work in our districts. We have 7 engineering districts across the state, and they're responsible for construction and maintenance, encroachment permitting, really anything you see that's happening on the ground, they're involved with, and they're really the engine that keeps our agency running. Richland County is in District 1 along with Lexington, Sumter, Lee, and Kershaw counties, and we're engaged with the Penny both at a district level and at a headquarters level here in Columbia. So about 10 years ago, the DOT had about $1 billion worth of construction projects going on at any one time across the state. And that had kind of been the average for a long time because our revenues were fairly flat. In 2017, the legislature passed Act 40, or what's commonly known as the Roads Bill. One of the parts of that Roads Bill raised the gas tax by 2 cents for 6 years for a total of 12 cents. And with that, we have realized an additional $5.1 billion in funding that we've been able to not only use on projects in the state, but it also helps us leverage more federal money when we use that as matching funds. In addition to the recurring funds, the legislature has provided almost $1 billion over the last 5 years or so in one-time funds. We received some ARPA relief funding. And then for 2 years in a row, we've gotten $200 million to go strictly towards our bridge program, which is a really big focus of ours. And so what that infusion of funding has allowed us to do is now we have over $6.5 billion worth of work going on right now. And that number will cross 700 or 7 billion here soon with the award of a project down on I-95. So the other major part of the roads bill, in addition to the additional funding, was that we were required to come up with a strategic plan, a plan that identified some areas of focused the work we were doing, and produced goals that were measurable and easily reportable to the public. And so the 4 main areas of the 10-year plan are the rural road safety projects, paving, bridges, and interstates. We started out with rural road safety as we had a target of 1,000 miles. We've passed that already and have increased that target to 1,300 by the end of the 10-year plan. Paving is where we spend the bulk of our money. And we have, again, the 4th largest system. Over the 10 years, we will have paved about 25% of the roads in the entire state. Bridges, as I mentioned, are a big issue. We have, of the 8,400 bridges we own, a little over 2,000 are 60 years old or older. Some of them in the 90 to 100-year age range. In 10 more years, we'll have another 1,000 that are 60 years old or older. So that doesn't take a whole lot of explaining to see the challenge we face there. And then the last focus area of the 10-year plan was interstates. We've currently got 111 miles of interstates underway. You know, if you drive between here and Charleston, you're going to go through 4 active work zones. And I know that can be painful at some times, but one day it'll be 6 lanes all the way between here and Charleston, in addition to other projects. So I wanted to dive into each one of the 4 focus areas a little bit and talk about what specifically is going on here in Richland County. The rural road safety projects, so we've identified that 30% of well, first of all, we have the highest rural road fatality rate in the country. So we identified the areas where most of those were happening, and 30% of our fatalities were happening on about 5% of our routes. So we've been able to home in on the routes that really needed work. And you can see the before and after picture there. A rural road safety project generally does things like clear trees away from the edge of the road. It puts down brighter pavement markings. Often it's associated with a resurfacing. There are rumble strips on the edges of the road, and sometimes in the median. Those are things that make noise when you run over them. All of that is designed to keep you on the road. And if you do go off the road, the clear zone that's been cleared gives you room to recover and get back on the road. And a couple of examples of those here in Richland County is Garner's Ferry Road from Horrell Hill out to the Wateree River, where we have a bridge project going on. And then another one is 601 beginning at Leesburg Road for about 5 miles. Again, I mentioned paving is where we spend the bulk of our money. The commission just approved our 2025-2026 statewide paving program, and that was a $726 million approval, and that doesn't include an additional set aside of $150 million just for interstates. But some of the roads that we have, so since 2023 up till now, we have resurfaced or will resurface over 75 miles of road in Richland County. And you can see the categories there, major roads, Broad River Road, 2-notch, farm to market secondary roads, there's 25 miles of those, and then neighborhood streets. And the items that are in italics, Forest Drive, Air Base Road, and Chandler Avenue, they were in the newest package, and those will be, you'll start seeing construction on those over the next year or two. Bridges, again, I mentioned were a big problem, and I want to just touch on a couple that we're working on here. You've seen plenty that are under construction, but a couple that we're developing. The first one is the Elmwood Bridge. As you're going out of town, getting on the interstate, it's a longer bridge. It's one that we initially started working on back in 2021. It got delayed for a little while. We have resumed that, and you're going to see some public meetings happening here in the fall, and the development of that will continue, and we'll develop a more firm schedule as we go through with that one. The next one is River Drive there in the Earlwood neighborhood. That one, we've got our environmental documents in place. We're acquiring right-of-way. We'll begin that this fall, and then that one will be letting in the spring of 2027. I mentioned interstates. Go ahead, one more slide. And I guess the one everybody knows about here in town is Carolina Crossroads. So we're nearing completion on phase 1, which is the Colonial Life Boulevard area, and on phase 2, which is the Broad River Road interchange. And we just awarded phase 3C, which will widen I-20 going across the Saluda River, replacing that bridge. You've also seen a good bit of clearing, I imagine. That interchange looks a lot different than it did even a few months ago. I was shocked the first time I drove through it, just the look with all the trees down. So that's a separate project, an advanced clearing that will help when we do get to the main interchange. A lot of that kind of work will be done. So stay tuned. That one will be going on for a little while, but it's going to be really nice when it's done. And now I wanted to touch on a few projects where we have kind of worked directly with the Richland Penny and have collaborated on funding and really just the development of the whole project. We're really pleased with the way South Main Street turned out. That's right, going from behind the state capitol down to Blossom Street. You know, we took a 4-lane road and did what we call a road diet, took it down to 1 lane in each direction. There's a lot of aesthetic improvements, sidewalks, much wider sidewalks, pedestrian and bike paths, and that one, you can see the last bullet point there, that had funding from from COATS, our local planning organization, had transportation alternative funding on it. The CTC here in Richland County contributed, the Penny contributed, and USC. So that was really I think a really good example of a group effort getting that project over the finish line. Next, Hard Scrabble Road. There is light at the end of that very long tunnel. I know it's been a struggle. We have experienced some really major utility delays, from water to gas lines to fiber, and they've all, unfortunately, haven't happened all at the same time. They've kind of been back to back to back. So this project has gone on a lot longer than we would have wanted, and I know a lot longer than anybody else would have wanted, but we are down to a section right around Clemson Road that's not fully open with all the lanes, but we've got a signal contractor out there working to finish that work up and plan to have everything open by mid-July. So glad to get that one near the finish line. And then the last one I wanted to touch on, while there's no funding participation or collaboration on this one, what I thought was a really good example of several entities coming together. So the Broad River Road widening is a Penny project that's being done on a state-maintained facility, and it's impacting a City of Columbia water line. So as the Penny started developing this project, realized they were going to impact this water line, we typically don't like to have water lines running parallel under a facility like this because of the risk to something happening to it. Then we have to do more than just a small hole. We've got to do a lot of work to get something like this repaired. This is a really big water line. It serves basically everything from Irma over to Fort Jackson. It's like 90,000 water customers. And so we got together with the Penny and the city and came up with a solution that we were able to leave the existing line in place. We realized going in and trying to replace it was going to be a bigger risk than leaving it in place. There was just too much there to risk rupturing that line while we were replacing it. So the solution we came up with was to build a concrete bridge of sorts that's going to be under the roadway but over the water line, and that will spread some of that load out and allow the Penny to build their project a little quicker. It saves the city some money on relocating the line. It also reduces the risk of that line being impacted, and the construction of the project is much easier and helps with the flow of traffic, which is important to us. So I thought that was a good example of the way we've been able to come together. Real quick, a couple of things we're looking at. The port is growing right now. They are moving about 3 million containers a year. Their goal is to get that to 10 million. That will obviously impact our roadway system and our railroad system. There are projections that we are going to add another 1 million people to the population of South Carolina over the next 10 years, and that a lot of that's going to the upstate and the Grand Strand and the Charlotte area, but also here. So we've got some congestion issues that we've got to deal with in several places, and then the technology with electric vehicles and how we design and maintain roads. Those cars are much heavier than gasoline-powered cars. They have a different center of gravity, which means guardrail may not stop them as easy as it does other things. So, and they also don't pay near as much in terms of their user fee as a person driving a gasoline-powered car. So we've got some things to look forward to. And so we're beginning to put together the next 10-year plan. Real quickly, we're going to continue the recovery we've started in this first 10-year plan. We'll continue resurfacing at the rate we're doing, if not increasing it. We've got a good head start on the interstates. We're just about to we're just about to execute the contract on the first 8 miles of I-95 coming out of Georgia. There are 33 miles of it are under development right now. So that you'll see that work starting to happen here pretty soon. We've got to do a better job of off-interstate capacity in connecting our more rural areas with the bigger urban areas. And that's that third bullet, the urban and rural mobility. And then again, with the port expanding, we've got to look at ways that we can partner with the railroads and other modes of transportation to help move people and goods across the state. So that's all I've got. I think Chairwoman Mackey is next up on the list, and thank you again for the chance to be here.
Thank you so much for all of the great information that all the speakers have delivered tonight. At the start of our program, Dr. Thompson recognized a few people briefly, but as in proper order, I wanted to make sure I acknowledge each of the elected officials that are here tonight to show their continued support and engagement with the Transportation Penny. Vice Chair Derek Pugh of Richland County Council. We have Councilwoman Allison Terratio, who also currently chairs the comment board. Councilwoman Gretchen Barron. Councilwoman Dawn Weaver. Councilwoman Tyra Little. And County Councilwoman Tish Aileen. We also have with us former chair of Richland County Council, Senator Overture Walker. Thank you. And then we have friends with us from City of Columbia, Mayor Daniel Rickman. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, as well as Councilman Will Brennan, who also serves on the comment board. And then we had a very special guest come out tonight all the way from Irmo. We have the newly elected Irmo Town Councilman, Mr. Mike Ward, who gets sworn in, I heard, is it tomorrow or next week? On Tuesday, but he saw it fit to come out here this evening to be engaged with the Penny to help with his constituents. So thank you for being here. I think all the information that we heard tonight really shows that the Transportation Penny here at Richland County is a combined effort, and it takes many agencies working across different platforms to really come together to deliver a product for our residents. And we're committed to doing that. It also shows that it is a true process. You see at each stage there is a process that has to go through to make sure that these projects are delivered and that they're delivered on time and within a budget. As we prepared tonight's presentation, one of the things that became very obvious to me is this penny really does reflect the county's strategic plan and the goals that we have. And those goals, if you're not familiar with our plan, are to foster good governance, to invest in economic development, commit to fiscal responsibility, plan for growth through inclusive and equitable infrastructure, achieve positive public engagement, and to establish operational excellence. The penny touches on each of these goals in some way. And our colleagues here on Richland County Council, we are committed to making sure that we continue to follow our strategic plan, but also making sure that we get these Transportation Penny projects done so that residents in Richland County can get to the jobs they have and to get to the places where they need to be. So please know that your penny is working for you. It's working for all of us, and we look forward to continue for that penny to work for us in the future. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Thompson to close us out this evening. Thank you all for coming.
Chairwoman Mackey. And thank you to each of our panelists on this evening for briefing the public about the different projects and the path forward. I greatly appreciate that. In closing, I'd like to remind everyone about several ways you can stay current on the status of Penny projects, committee meetings, and the latest news. Visit richlandpenny.com, Subscribe to the Penny Progress newsletter on the website. Follow us on the Transportation Penny Facebook page. Follow all Richland County social media outlets. Check the events page on our county website at richlandcountysc.gov. You'll find this and other information on the roadmap to the future brochure. So be sure to take one of those and don't forget to drop your comment cards on the way out. Once again, thank you so much for attending this evening's event and travel safely. God bless you.